This is the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast.
Oh no! We suck again!
I'm getting confused. What game are you calling?
I'm calling both games.
It is caught by Kelsey! Touchdown! Kansas City!
I need 3 of those things, baby! We ain't done yet! We ain't done yet!
You like that? You like that? I like that!
How's it going, Ruckus and The Menace Sports fam? You are watching and listening to another episode of the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast, episode number 128. I'm Ruckus the Menace.
And I am Ruckus, always causing a ruckus.
And on this episode, we have the Eastwood segment, the good, bad, and the ugly. A double high heat, but it's all football related as we will reflect on the first round of the college football playoff and week 16 of the NFL season up to this point. Our color commentary, where we will have this as our Christmas episode. So we have a Christmas-themed color commentary, our film room picks, and our stud and dud of the week. Ruckus, man, it's the holiday. It's our first run of the holidays and the wrap-up to the calendar year. Teasing for next week that we will have our best of the year episode. And we are definitely going to have to get creative with some categories. And I think there's quite a few special categories that we gotta have up there.
Well, for sure. I think if first we start this episode off with a little Christmas carol, and you're not involved, it's just me. All right, 3, 2, 1. Silent night, holy night. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Sorry, I just had to give you like a little nanosecond of actually trying to sleep. You're welcome, America. All right, Spennis, what are we doing?
Shut up. All right. The tumbleweed has already found its way rolling down the way, as Ruckus probably just partially kicked it across the way. It's time for the good,
I know.
and the ugly.
All right, okay. I see the tumbleweed now. All right, here we go. Yep, and it's gone. All right, Spennis, what you got for us?
It's gone. You spent it. You spent the budget on the tumbleweed, kicking it across the way.
And I don't even pay for the sponsorship for this. So what the hell? God damn it! We need a sponsor.
All right. The good in the sports this week is I'm gonna say it here. I think the NFL's getting these flex scheduling games that they're really paying attention and they're getting it correct. Vikings-Packers is pretty much going to be America's game of the week this Sunday. This coming Sunday for Fox. And then on top of that, Commanders-Falcons is on Sunday Night Football. I know this is much to my mother's chagrin because for the 30th, she'll have to work. On Monday, she'll have to work. And she won't be able to stay up and watch us play Sunday night. But for me, I know that I still will have to work, but still probably going to watch this one anyway because granted that it's no longer Kirko Chains, it's still Washington and Atlanta and a playoff spot on the line, so they're getting it right. And we will pick all of those games here later on in the film room segment. And our bad is also some really somber news. As the Man of Steel, Ricky Henderson, passes away at 65 years old. And I don't know how much you knew about Ricky Henderson, Ruckus, other than I would cook you with him in MLB The Show.
Also, the only reason I remember him is because he was the stolen base leader in the MLB, and I didn't realize how old he was until he did pass away. I was like, damn, I didn't realize he was that old. I didn't know if he was like almost the age of Hank Aaron, or if he was older, or if he was younger. But now I know.
As a kid, and Ricky Henderson was still playing, and I actually, up until I was in high school, there were only 2 baseball games, major league wise, that I ever attended live. And both of them were Baltimore Orioles Oakland Athletic games, and Ricky Henderson played for Oakland at the time. And of course, what is sad about the Oakland Athletics at this point, yeah, the team is leaving. Ricky Henderson Field is no longer their home, and now pretty much one of the greatest athletics of all time has now passed away. So Ricky Henderson unfortunately will never get to. He passed away before the change to Las Vegas kicked in for a team that he had 2 different stints with in his career. And man, Ricky Henderson was a great player. And I got to play with Ricky Henderson video games, along with doing like an MLB with Ken Griffey Jr. on the Nintendo 64, and then years later in MLB The Show. So I mean, I had a little bit of closer ties to dealing and knowing who Ricky Henderson was.
I just remember playing my first baseball game was MLB The Show 06. I think it was probably the first game that was actually called The Show, and that was actually very good. I mean, before that I had MVP Baseball, but it was mostly just renting it at
MVP
Blockbuster
Baseball
or whatever.
Existed. Yes, the MVP 05. I loved 04, and I owned 04, and I owned 05, and I ran the disc into the ground as far as 05, but 04, I even owned 04, but 05 was definitely one of the ultimate baseball games there ever was.
Yeah.
But the downright ugly. And could we very much say that this is the ultimate reason why the JETS Jets are inept?
So it wasn't even just, so it's not even just the Madden ratings that we're talking about with the situation where do you want me to go?
Yeah. It's basically that the Jets openly have admitted to terrible decisions regarding their franchise and how things have been handled.
I was going to open up on that. Is it okay if I do that now? Am I allowed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
All right. So there has been a meme going around for the Jets, and for the family-friendly portion of this, I'm going to go here and say, pretty much the Jets owner was basing his decisions off of Madden ratings as far as what his kids or younger staff have told him to do for the game for their team versus just having an instinct and having a natural ability to identify if someone is good to go or stinks for the organization or just not good in general. But the management of the Jets is not great there. But here's the non-family friendly version. So kids, cover your ears, or your parents cover their ears. The Jets have done some really awkward, cringy things. Like, instead of building player morale where it's naturally made, and whenever you make something big, like, hey, you guys gotta win, I'm gonna do it for my coach. Well, imagine the management for the Jets just sweeping that charisma away and pretending like that didn't happen, and not even Men in Black style, just didn't happen, and they talk, or they start acting in a way where it's like, oh, actually, we're gonna give this trophy to so-and-so, even though they didn't really deserve it, or like, we're gonna make this tone deaf, or we didn't really read the room. Like, just dumb acts like that, and just also shaming other players too while they're in the room. Like, come on, man. Like, I think if you're the Jets and all the turmoil you've had from this point to like 10 years ago or 20 years ago, like, I think this Jet needs to be just back to the ground level and not even like been able to fly at this point. Especially if management's gonna act like this. Like, this is Rob Schneider 2.0, minus the legislative, or not the legislative, the monetary things that go with it.
It's like, you know it's bad when the GM has to tell a team that is wanting to trade away a guy who Steve Smith Sr. has called a jag, just a guy, in Jerry Jeudy. The Broncos would have traded to Jerry Jeudy, and Jerry Jeudy would have been a Jet because his Madden rating was not high enough. I get agitated a lot whenever I play fantasy football sometimes, because I swear people get so focused on hanging on to a certain player because of what I feel, because of what they value him based on their Madden rating. It's like doing Madden rating trades.
There is
of like
RNG
really,
to
really
this
good
shit.
stock trades.
There is RNG to this shit, but it doesn't matter because it's not a system. It's literally based mostly on luck and health of a player and just how they're going to do that day.
Yeah.
It's not systematic.
It's like a rating in a video game should never be considered in how an owner evaluates players. This just tells you that this owner, Woody Johnson, probably the only way the Jets are going to get relevant ever again is if this guy sells the Jets. He's got to sell the team because this owner is off his rocker. The Jets are never going to be irrelevant again.
What was the name of that show for was it Woody's Roundup?
What, for Toy Story?
Yeah, from Toy Story 2. Woody's Roundup.
Yeah, it was Woody's Roundup. Yeah, it was Woody's Roundup. Yeah.
Just like imagine you're listening to the intro of that, and then while you're doing that, you're watching a thing that just shows the Jets, or the Jets in the nutshell. Like, that's literally the Jets right now. You're just like watching it, like this dumpster fire just explode on you in front of your very eyes, or what has been for like 2 or 3 months. But yeah.
Apparently, Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback of the Jets, has said he mused on Pat McAfee about quote unquote being released by a teenager, and he poked fun over the Jets owner over the reports of his son's involvement because of the Madden rating thing. It just it makes the Jets look 1,000 times dumber than the rest of the league. I mean, granted that I lobbied for the Commanders' Dan Snyder to sell the team, but that's because that owner was absolutely incompetent in running the team into the ground. This and the incompetence and all the toxicity of that workplace culture. This is more so running a team into the ground by sheer incompetence. That this owner does not know anything about what he's doing. And I don't think the Jets are going to be able to recover from this very easily. they probably went toward Aaron Rodgers because his Madden rating was still up in the 90s when they went to trade for him.
Dude, what if
And the mighty have fallen.
What if this was like an Undercover Boss episode?
What, all of a sudden Commissioner Goodell's there?
Or it's like just so then cuz like the main look bad things of Dan Schneider was like he was like being a fraud and also just not caring about the actual franchise or whatnot. But like for this, it's just
he meddled like Jerry Jones does.
But yeah, it would be an interesting Undercover Boss thing just to see the behind the scenes of all that. But yeah, that's why I was saying it's been iffy. But anyways, let's go right into the high heat.
It basically is almost like did you ever watch that Kevin Costner movie Draft Day?
Yep, that was a good ass movie, by the way.
That would be one of those.
The part where he like
It was
at the beginning where he gives his first round draft picks to the team, and then spoiler alert, he gets those draft picks that he just gave away to the Seahawks. Yeah, he gets them back after he whips it out, so to speak, on the table.
And one of the final movie, not necessarily one of the final movies, but kind of one of the last notable movies of Chadwick Boseman, God rest his soul.
42.
Oh, 42 was another brilliant one, I can tell you that much. Not only for Chadwick Boseman, but Mr. Indiana Jones and Han Solo himself in Harrison Ford. Yeah, Harrison Ford was brilliant in that movie.
Yeah, he was really good. I agree.
But yeah,
I didn't realize Chadwick Boseman was in 42 until I watched it again, because I was like, oh shit, like that guy was Black Panther.
Oh yeah. That was actually the movie that made me really like Chadwick Boseman. Was 42. Because I think that was the first movie I ever saw with him in it.
Yeah. Anyways.
But the college football playoff first round recap. Notre Dame defeating Indiana 27-17 in South Bend. And that was this past Friday night.
Yep.
Notre Dame is pretty good. Like, Notre Dame has been pretty good, and they've even for making the college football playoff, the head coach has already gotten an extension, which is kind of good for the Golden Domers, because it's nice to see an independent team be this relevant. Yes, Notre Dame football is not affiliated with a college football conference. So it's always nice to see Notre Dame kind of find its way in. Penn State forces numerous turnovers on SMU, beating them 38-10. Texas defeats Clemson 38-24, and Ohio State defeating Tennessee 42-17. How do we feel about the first round of games, especially with home field advantages to higher seeds and everything else that came with the first round of games, Ruckus?
Unpopular opinion, I think there needs to be more of this. I think we need to do what I was talking about a couple weeks ago, which is make it like almost a March Madness like platform. That way,
this kind of, I would say, more in the selection
add
process.
Add more people is what I'm trying to say. Besides just the whole, you get the first round. And
How many more are you wanting to add, Ruckus? There's 12.
Let's make it fall. Let's call it Fall Madness, okay? And I won't trademark it. I will make it free to use for anyone else. fall madness, or do you?
It's not like college basketball where you have as many teams that you're able to fit into that, and also football being a more brutal game or more brutal sport. I would say you go no further. I would say if you were to break it down region by region, which you probably could do, but honestly, it is not as effective for Division 1 football as it would be for say Division 2 or Division 3 where regions are there. But Division 2 goes up to 24. I believe the FCS I think they go no further than 16. But I think the FBS being at 12 with all of those other bowl games around it actually is really good.
I would
I
make
think
it.
they've got the right amount. I just think the selection process needs to be done in prime time, like just like March Madness. Once you get through that and you kind of refine and tweak kind of how you want to set up the buys and everything else, and you are golden.
I think you add 4 more teams to it, and that's it. You
So basically you're giving even the number 1 overall seed no quarter. You're not giving the number 1 seed a bye.
I think you still have the bye, but you add more people to that tournament, so it almost becomes like a wild
If you
card.
add more to the if you add more to the tournament, you can't. If you're adding more to the tournament, you're cutting out buys. Yeah, so 12 that's perfect because you have 4 teams with buys, which gives you 2 on each half of the bracket. The only way you do that otherwise is if you make it like the NFL and only add 2. And make
Okay, then
the
we'll
and
just add
give
2
make,
and call it that. Let's just add 2 and call it that. Maybe I don't know. I was thinking
yeah,
add
all
4
that
just to make it
does.
more interesting, but yeah.
Yeah, but all that does is just add. It adds 2 games. It adds 2 teams that, yeah, maybe they get it. Maybe they should get in. Maybe they shouldn't get in. I think that ultimately putting SMU in the playoff was the right decision, but I think it was a really bad break for SMU because what was bad about that break is that Clemson got a lower seed and they beat SMU in the ACC title game. So that's why I said I think a little bit in the selection process needs a little bit of tweaking, but I think 12's about right. 14 tops, but I don't foresee that happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
I think they've got a formula that I think that has some staying power.
Yeah.
However, I think what would be nice to kind of see, the home field advantage is nice. I don't know what the revenue sharing kind of would be like for payouts for, say, the teams that had to travel. Especially because
So
I think SMU was kind of closer to Texas. I think SMU's closer to Texas, and they had to go all the way up to Pennsylvania.
first college
Clemson was in
football
South
playoff
Carolina, and they had to go all
or
the way to
first
Austin.
round.
Yeah. So I wish some of the travel distance was cut down a little bit.
What should I say? First round college football playoff, home field, grossing or
I was going to say first round. The revenue shared. It says reaching the college football playoff is a lucrative thing for Notre Dame. Sorting out a new revenue
Yahoo Sports.
split. Yeah, I'm kind of like trying to figure out what the revenue distribution is for that, but I don't know what I don't know exactly what that's really going to look like for the for that actually.
For a
Yeah,
buy, to
teams
get a
that
buy, it's
advance.
go ahead.
Yeah, it's like teams that advance past the first round receive an additional $4 million. Teams that move to the semi get 6 million, and then the national championship they collect an additional 6. But that's for the prize money. But I'm not talking like the revenue in the stadium.
Right.
Like that's the stuff that I'm trying to figure out. But I don't think they really go into details on very much of anything with that at all.
Yeah, I think it's mainly because they want you to pay more attention to the other things that are happening.
Yeah. But however, I think I
Also
think
kind of
college
scummy.
football is, yeah, which is true. But I do think that right now, based on what this structure is like for the first ever run of this, I am in a belief that I think college football is on the right track. That they're on the right track to getting there. It's not perfect, but it is still really good. And your quarterfinal matchups we will be predicting on next week's episode, which are Notre Dame versus Georgia, Penn State versus Boise State, Texas versus Arizona State, and a Big Ten rematch of Ohio State and Oregon. We ready to move on to the high heat, Ruckus?
Yes, sir. Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. We are recapping week 16 of the NFL season, and we've got ourselves some doozies. And we're going to start with Saturday afternoon. The Chiefs and Texans, where the Chiefs, with home field advantage coming closer and closer to them, and Buffalo still chasing, even though Buffalo picked up a victory. The Chiefs also defeated the Texans 27-19 on Saturday afternoon. And the question here is, how do we feel that CJ Stroud fared in his first ever matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs?
I think he did about a B plus rating whenever he still had Tank Dell with him before that gruesome injury. So we'll have to see how he builds chemistry with a new guy. Which should we want to talk about him now, or should I just say it?
Well, yeah. Well, they did get Deontay. They did just pick up Deontay Johnson in free agency.
Okay.
I do not know how quickly he will. I do not know how quickly he will get in rhythm for the Texans, because this is so late in the season. Just as a general gist of it.
I didn't know if he had something that like was a stud or dud. That's why I asked. But
No, I did not. I did not put anything for that.
Okay. So really, to answer to that fully, I think CJ Stroud with his first matchup, I would rate him at a B minus because Tank Dell got hit and that kind of affected him emotionally. Not kind of, but very well affected him emotionally. Seeing his teammate battered like that.
Oh yeah.
But but as a quarterback, you have to be more strong about stuff like that. You can't like go full emotions on it. But he's young; he'll understand it later. But you just gotta be in the same mentality as you were coming in to enter. Like you gotta make sure to like focus on that one thing, which is winning the game.
Mean, CJ Stroud felt bad for also putting him in that compromising position that ended up resulting in that injury, which was a torn ACL and a dislocated kneecap. Which, a quarterback can be just as gutted about that. And I don't think that CJ Stroud did terrible.
Here's the thing about that. So the thing about that is with it's almost like a more gruesome version of when like Mahomes ran into Rashee Rice. Uh, Stroud throwing a deep ball to Tank Dell that where he when he caught it he made contact with another player on his own team and then had that gruesome knee injury. Like I
Oh
wonder
yeah,
if that's like about the same equivalent in a sense, just worded differently.
yeah, it's a little rough. Yeah, it's a little rough. And C.J. Stroud was not near Dell when the injury occurred. But C.J. Stroud, I'm gonna say the stat line here. He was 23 for 39, 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, was sacked twice. But honestly, I think the real issue here was that I don't think the Texans had as much of a running game going that was effective. Joe Mixon only had 14 carries for 57 yards. Tank Dell was doing great. 6 catches, 98 yards, and a touchdown. And that unfortunate touchdown. But I think that for what the Texans had against the Kansas City Chiefs for this game to be the way that it was and the Texans only lose by 8, and the Texans have dealt with a major injury situation as a whole just as it currently sat. I think that the Texans are legitimately like they've got potential. It's just CJ Stroud I think is dealing with a little bit of a sophomore slump.
Yes.
Yeah, the numbers are a little down from where he was last year. I mean, 3,492 yards, 19 touchdowns, 11 picks. But he's also had his supporting cast deal with a litany of injuries. So some of that you can blame Stroud. Some of that you can't blame Stroud too heavily or as heavily as you really would normally would. So I I can't 100% say that Stroud did a terrible job against Mahomes. And especially that Chiefs defense, and that Chiefs defense is good. Trent McDuffie is has always proven to be a solid corner.
Dude,
So you can't really
it's as nasty as let's say it's as nasty as a um leaving eggs out in the yard and just leaving them out there and not giving a damn about them, not even throwing them away. Just the smell of that rotten egg. That is as nasty as the Chiefs defense gets. And it has been that nasty since the Super Bowl, baby. It's just that we got our guys back. We got Omenihu. Right now we're not certain on Chris Jones' injury. It might be a few weeks, but still, I have high hopes. We should probably go to the next
All
one.
right, the next game. Yep, I was actually just about to get there, Ruckus. The next game we have is the Baltimore Ravens defeating the Pittsburgh Steelers 34-17. And this game had some major AFC North implications as currently right now as it stands, the Pittsburgh Steelers still currently hold a tiebreaker against the Ravens for best win percentage in conference games. As Baltimore is 6-4, while Pittsburgh is 7-3 in conference games. But the question really becomes, what are the major impacts of this result being what it was in Baltimore now splitting the series with Pittsburgh?
It means that the Steelers have got to get angry. They got to get mean. Patrick Houlihan once said that famously. But the Steelers, that means that the Chiefs better watch out, and they better not cry. They better not pout, because I'll tell you why. Because Mahomes is going to have to do the same kind of shit that he was doing last game. Yeah, it's not musically sound, but I'm just saying. He needs to do what he did last week with the offense, with using what he's got, caring more about that rather than just like, oh, well, shit, I just threw an interception. Hopefully the defense can, maybe get an interception, maybe get a third and, or 4 and out, or 3 and out, or whatever. Like, that'd be great. Like, stuff like that, like, yeah.
But what is going on here is that I'm going to say this. The Steelers, I'm going to say that the Steelers' chances of winning the division are basically at the point that that it is like Ralph Wiggum from The Simpsons. I'm in danger. As though both of these teams will be playing on Christmas Day. Baltimore gets Houston. Pittsburgh gets Kansas City. And Pittsburgh has Cincinnati, who really can play spoiler here. While Baltimore's last game before the final game of the regular season is against the Cleveland Browns. So the Baltimore Ravens are I think in a very good position to steal the division away, so long as Lamar Jackson is not distracted by watching Beyonce's halftime performance during the game.
All the single ladies, all the single ladies, all the single ladies, now put your hands up.
Beside the point. But I think that this opens up. But this opens up the opportunity, and it swings the door wide open for the Ravens to come in and steal the division lead from Pittsburgh, which will affect the seeding in the postseason, where Pittsburgh would be sitting at a 5, as a 5, even potentially plummeting if they lose both of those games. And Denver and Los Angeles somehow managed to push their way up the pile. So Pittsburgh could plummet all the way down, possibly to the 7 seed, depending on tiebreakers.
Let's keep going here.
Yeah, so basically it's like, so we're saying there's a chance that Baltimore could win the division.
Perhaps.
This next set of three involve the top seed, or really the top couple of seeds in the NFC. Detroit defeating Chicago 34-17. The Commanders coming out of nowhere and stunning the Eagles 36-33. And the Vikings hanging on and defeating the Seahawks 27-24. For these 3 games, how do these final results shape up what the mountaintop of the NFC is going to look like for each of us?
I think, if anything, instead of a misty mountaintop, it's a misty mountain hop featuring Led Zeppelin, and then an epic intro to the final results to what shape up for the NFC. And I think the Lions, they take it down the Packers or whoever they have to face, or keep them down. if they are atop. And then the Commanders and Eagles, that could be a wild card there. We'll have to see what happens with Jalen Hurts, and especially with Pickett, because he had a concussion, I believe, or
Hurts
something
is
like.
definitely a concussion. Hurts is definitely a concussion, and I think Pickett was more on the arm and ribs.
Okay, because I thought they were both concussed near the end, from
No,
what I saw from the
no, it
injury
was.
report.
I don't think Pickett. I don't think Pickett had a concussion. I know Hurts did.
Okay, but yeah,
And
we'll have to see what
I
happens there. But other than that, the Vikings and Seahawks. I feel like it's for the Vikings to lose. The Seahawks already pretty much lost that with Geno probably being out for a long time, unless he showed okay on his reports. But yeah, other than that, um, anyone to
the
lose or
flex,
win.
the flex games make this extremely interesting. Yes, I said it. The flex games make this extremely interesting. Atlanta has Tampa Bay on head to head. So that is why Atlanta is ahead. Atlanta plays Washington in Washington. And if Washington beats them and Tampa Bay beats Carolina, Tampa Bay leapfrogs Atlanta in the division. Tampa Bay will then have to play New Orleans to go for it all. Minnesota plays Green Bay. And I really am going to say, as far as this race goes, we don't necessarily need to be like Russell Crowe in Gladiator saying, "Are you not entertained?" No, this race is entirely entertaining because any one of those 2 to 3 teams can push their way up to the top. And home field advantage is going to matter for all of them. No one's going to let up. And Washington can steal the division from the Eagles at this point if the Eagles lose both of their games, as the Eagles will play a surging Dallas, but a pathetic Giants. And Washington will have Atlanta, and then they got to play Dallas, a Dallas team with nothing to lose. So ultimately, I really think that this race in the NFC and this hunt there is going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun, and it's going to be chaotic enough. And there's a lot of beating each other up that's going to be going on, that I could say that one of those NFC teams is going to win the Super Bowl because of how chaotic this is. And in order for really the teams to make the Super Bowl, you kind of got to deal with a little bit of chaos. And the next one is the Rams defeating the Jets 19-9. And the question is, have the Rams locked away the NFC West and look poised to throw away the key?
I think if they keep this shit up, yes, they would. They will throw away the key and hope, and then have the other teams in that division try to find that key. But yeah, anyways, yeah, Rocks get it.
And to go back to the last one, that Minnesota Detroit Lions game, because Detroit has Minnesota at the very end. That Minnesota Detroit game could very well be for home field advantage throughout the playoffs. But as far as the Rams go, The Rams' next opponent is the Cardinals. And then they have the Seahawks. The Seahawks, their next game is a interesting one against the Chicago Bears. So the biggest thing for Seattle will be that the only way they can fight the Rams at this point is win, but the Rams must beat Arizona to have a great chance at clinching the division. A win and a Seattle loss gives the Rams the division. And by the way Seattle has been playing, and the way the Bears have been playing, that one's an anything goes.
Yep. I think the Rams do have a good shot, though, with just the morale, the locker room, and stuff. I think they are pretty good.
Absolutely. And last but not least, Cincinnati beating Cleveland 24-6. And the question here is, do the Cincinnati Bengals have enough signs of life to make their way and play spoiler and steal away a playoff spot from either Denver or the Chargers?
Please, 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 take out both of those teams if you can. Bengals, the Denver Broncos, and the Los Angeles Chargers, they can go away. And if you want to play us in a potential playoff game, come at me, bro.
Okay. If you are a Kansas City Chiefs fan, the team you really do not want to see is Denver.
I disagree. It's the Chargers. The Chargers have a way harder defense. The Denver Broncos, the only thing that was really going for them was Bo Nix and their offense, besides some of their defense kicking our ass. But, like, I would rather go against the Chargers, not go against the Chargers because their defense is scary and has shown that in the past. But
Denver's got a while the Chargers have a safety that is full of star power, a corner is a little more devastating than a safety. Safeties can play the center field stuff.
I feel like I disagree on that. I feel like the safety is more of like the field general that looks over the rest of the D line.
Yeah, but a corner is going to take away one target. He's going to take away your best target, which Patrick Surtain is going to do every single game. And Kansas City does play Denver within its last two. I think if Cincinnati, who Cincinnati on their remaining schedule has Denver, and has Pittsburgh. I think with the way the Bengals have been playing football right now, Cincinnati is surging. But Denver has been playing remarkable over this stretch. Denver has played remarkable. The Chargers have played great. And Cincinnati needs a lot of help. I think the front part of the season may have dug the Bengals a little too big of a hole that they couldn't overcome. And I know that But the Chargers have a very easy schedule coming into their final 2 games, so Cincinnati is definitely not taking them out. Though New England has turned into a team with no slouch at the moment. Their last game of the season is against the putrid Las Vegas Raiders, who have bet it all on black and lost.
Yep.
And now we can move on to the color commentary. And since it's the Christmas episode, we're building an R&M Christmas. But we need ornaments and decorations.
What do you have against Oregon?
We've got a few categories here.
I'm kidding. Anyways, keep going.
I have nothing against Oregon. I just was making sure that I actually said the right word instead of having a Freudian slip. But a string of white lights is personified by which athletes? And I'm going to say it is none other than Nikola Jokic. Because the way that I would describe a set of white lights is that it feels like a very simplistic and a plain tone. But when the lights are on and with the right atmosphere, it is brilliant. And that definitely describes Nikola Jokic's basketball play. I had a little special honorable mention for Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is a very, very humble lifestyle and humble personality. But when he's on the basketball floor as well, he is absolutely electric. A string of festive lights. And Ruckus, I know you're going to want to talk about this one.
I think the first part of it you'll talk about for sure, the Detroit Lions playbook.
Oh yeah, that, and I even mentioned one of those plays in another thing, but their play design and Ben Johnson as a whole and how he's come up with stuff. The Dallas stuff, the stuff against Dallas with the double reverse flea flicker to Laporta, the hook and ladder intentionally to an offensive lineman for a touchdown that got called back. The Detroit Lions playbook and how they've played throughout this entire season has been nothing short of electric. And I know you had...
I had an honorable mention.
I'm trying to understand your honorable mention here of why you went with this play.
Because it was between that or Andy Reid's Waffle House menu that he has on his playbook. But my honorable mention is Sean Payton because during, I believe it was the Broncos Chargers game on Thursday night last week, they had a saying with Sean Payton's playbook, and they even had it on camera saying on his playbook, "Run it" in all caps with an exclamation point. So that's why I thought it was funny to have that as honorable mention, because she had the Detroit Lions playbook and I had the literal playbook saying "Run it." Anyways, let's keep going.
I was also possibly looking at Cliff Kingsbury's as well, with all of the electric plays that Jaden Daniels has been doing and all the running game and talking about run it. Like there's some like, but the elf on a shelf, or in this case, the elves on a shelf. And this was nothing short of new news. As it really wasn't all that new to begin with. It was none other than Jason and Travis, the Kelsey brothers.
Yay!
And honestly, I think there's one of those Kelsey brothers that we definitely will see now more often than the other because he's retired. But every time we've seen him, it's been nothing short of entertaining. For both of them, but I think it's been Jason that's been the one that's taken it a whole lot more in stride. Future Hall of Famer, by the way. The next one is a handmade Christmas ornament. And we went none other than Shohei Ohtani.
Yes, sir.
And we definitely went with this just simply because whenever you have like something handmade or something like really crafted well, like it's going to have a look and a feel that is different than anything you ever buy in a store. And Shohei Ohtani, just as a baseball player, is just he's different. It's that different, it's that well-crafted feel of just how he hits, how he runs, how he pitches. How he pitches as well whenever he was pitching. Just different things that were put into that two-way player mold that fit, that were very much unlike what you would normally have with a baseball player who generally will play either a position player or pitch, but not both. And last but not least, the brand new Christmas decoration being added. And we went with the electric stuff of Paul Skeens.
For sure. Yes, because
the NL Rookie of the Year, a Cy Young candidate, and a future Pirate ace who I think is going to have a very good long-term. So long as he stays healthy, I think he's going to have a great career.
I think he's going to have an interesting career, and this is just the beginning. It would be a bummer though if he ends up getting some type of Tommy John surgery, but we'll figure that out later in the.
I completely get that.
Other than that, he is a hell of a man, hell of a teammate, hell of a boyfriend to Livy Dunn, I believe.
Yep, it's Livy Dunn. And I gotta give you a hard time here because you ended up putting it on the wrong slot. You ended up putting your picks on the wrong slide, but we can keep them there. We're fine. We're fine. We're good. You can leave them there. You can leave them there. We'll adjust for it later.
Yeah, that's on me.
Yeah, it's all good. But it is now time for the film room. And the scores going into this week. I am up by 25. And you know what's going to be
25.
No, I was going with what was going to be funnier than being up by 24, being up by 25.
25.
All right, so our first game. And these bowl games have names, so I need to actually get the names of them.
Come on, Spanish.
So, our first bowl that we have is the Rate Bowl. Rutgers versus K-State. And this one will be played at Chase Field in Phoenix.
Let's go Kansas State. EMA, every man's a Wildcat. Kansas State Wildcats.
I am taking Kansas State as well in that matchup. The next matchup we have is the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, as Oklahoma will take on Navy.
Boomer Sooner.
And this game is in Fort Worth, Texas.
Boomer Sooner. Do I need to say it louder? Boomer Sooner. Welcome.
I'm taking the team that's going to be a little bit closer. I'm taking Oklahoma as well. The next one's a fun one for us, as it is the Birmingham Bowl. As we have the little brother college of Georgia Tech to Georgia, or the little brother college in Tennessee of Vanderbilt.
I think Vanderbilt takes out Georgia Tech.
I'm taking Georgia Tech here. I'm taking Georgia Tech. You hang around with Georgia? You hang around with Georgia in clean, old-fashioned hate? I mean, granted that Vanderbilt beat Alabama. But I'm going to take Georgia Tech, who has been stunning teams this season. The next one we have, I did not do the Liberty Bowl. I did the Holiday Bowl. The DirecTV Holiday Bowl, Syracuse and Washington State. This one being in San Diego.
Sorry.
This one being in San Diego.
I picked the Washington State Huskies because that was the alma mater of Trent McDuffie. So I figured Washington State would be better than Syracuse.
Syracuse is underrated here. I'm going to go orange. I'm taking Syracuse. The next one is the Las Vegas Bowl, where they go to the Roomba in Allegiant Stadium. Texas A&M and USC.
I picked the Aggies because I figured they would probably be better than the Trojans are, but I don't really know, but that's why.
I took A&M as well. Yeah, I took A&M as well here. The next one we have in there, and that Texas A&M game was 2 points. This next one is also a 2-pointer. The Pop-Tarts Bowl. Iowa State versus Miami in the U. And it is in Orlando.
I'm willing to say Iowa State beats them, and hopefully they get Taylor Swift homemade Pop-Tarts. I haven't yet to try them, but they sound good.
I'm going to take Rocco Becht and Iowa State. The next one that we have, especially because it was none other than a sponsor of the DOGG Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl, Miami, Ohio, and Colorado State.
Well, the DOGG is going to take the Colorado State Buffaloes,
I think it's the Buffaloes.
Yeah.
No. They are the Rams.
Yeah, because Colorado is the Buffaloes.
Yes, I am taking the Rams of Colorado State as well. And the last one we have, because our next ones will be, I did not want to put in the Music City Bowl, although that one would be a good one as well. I was running out of room. So we're going to do the Alamo Bowl of BYU in Colorado. And I am taking Coach Prime in Colorado.
I am taking Coach Prime as well because I believe.
And you know what? I realized I had more room than I thought. We're actually going to add one here.
Ruh-roh.
We're actually going to add that. Yep. We're going to add the Music City Bowl here. We're going to add the Music City Bowl. And it is Iowa versus Missouri. You can change
All
whatever
good.
colors you need. Yep, you can change whatever colors you need.
Iowa versus
And
Missouri.
it is another one. Yep, it is Iowa versus Missouri.
I'm going to take Missouri over on that matchup.
I am taking the Hawkeyes here. Taking the Hawkeyes. And tight end university. None of the, and how you ended up doing one for Trent McDuffie. George Kittle, baby. Tight end you.
Shimmy.
Yep. And our next games here are the NFL. For 2 points, Chiefs Steelers.
I'm picking the Chiefs.
Are you done yet?
Yes.
I also am taking Kansas City here. Ravens Texans.
I'm picking the Texans because I think if they get in a rhythm with Deontay Johnson enough, I think they will be able to succeed more. But I mean, I think the Texans have a better chance than the Ravens do anyways defensively, so we'll just see.
Deontay Johnson, I don't even think is going to play because I think the notice of play between when he just got picked up and this game is going to be entirely too short. I'm taking the Ravens. Another 1-pointer. Broncos Bengals.
I'm going to pick the Broncos mainly because I think they have more luster for their offense than the Bengals do, but we'll just have to see.
I think that Patrick Surtain is going to put the clamps on Jamar Chase. Broncos. Even though they're going to have T. Higgins, the clamps on Jamar Chase is going to be the key.
Yep.
Cardinals Rams.
I think the Rams are going to take down and beat up the Cardinals so bad that you don't remember where they were or at that moment. So I think the Rams are going to get them.
I'm taking the Rams here as well. Cowboys Eagles.
Eagles all the way. Cowboys can be left in the dust.
I think the division is Phillies. If Jalen Hurts is in, I'm definitely going to go with the Eagles here. Packers Vikings.
I think the Vikings have a better defense than the Packers do, and their offense is hanging just in where they need to be.
Yeah. My next big one here is definitely going to be I am taking the Vikings. Commanders Falcons on Sunday Night Football.
I think the Commanders have a better understanding of the team philosophy now compared to what it was versus the Eagles last week. I think they are the team that wins against the Falcons because the Falcons are kind of trying to still find themselves with the Penix, and I don't know if it's enough against the Commanders.
I am taking the Commanders here as well. It is number 1 at home, and number 2, it is going to be epic. I think it's going to be epic. And I think it's going to really put the Commanders at a solid position for a playoff spot. Lions, 49ers, Monday Night Football. Lions with home field advantage in urgence.
Dude, this one is a no-brainer. The Lions versus 49ers. Newsflash. 49ers are eliminated from the playoffs, so what do they have, or what do the Lions have to lose against the 49ers? Well, not a whole lot. Their defense is hella beat up. Yeah, home field, whatever, but like their defense for the 49ers is beat the F up. And I mean beat up. So for the Lions, yes, a bit of their inside defense is beat up, very beat up. But I think they still have more of what it takes than the 49ers do. So, yes, both offenses are also beat up, but I think the Lions have a better time versus what the 49ers do. So I think the Lions have it. I think they get the better part of that.
Yeah, I think it's a. It's definitely one of those type of ordeals where I think the Lions will win the game simply because home field advantage is on the line. And it's going to come down to the Lions and the Vikings for home field advantage and the NFC North title. And we now can move on to our stud and dud of the week. Ruckus,
All right. Okay.
I'll let you kick it off.
My stud for this episode is the MLB offseason so far as a whole for the Yankees and Red Sox, as the Yankees signed Max Fried about last week, like near the end of last week into this week. And then they ended up trading for Cody Bellinger, which I think is a historical move, but also a good move for the Yankees, as I'm going to be honest. Defensively, you have a better defensive and offensive player in Cody Bellinger versus Juan Soto, and also he is not worth he's not going to cost as much as Soto would have been, and I think Cody has a better upside over Juan Soto. I think Soto's overrated. But other than that, the Red Sox signed Walker Buehler to a 1-year deal, and I believe also
Bueller.
did some other, and also did some trade.
They also
traded
traded for
Garrett Crochet, yes, which is a future Chris
and
Sale
Patrick
kind of
Sandoval.
guy. Yes, also a good
Patrick
piece.
Sandoval. Yep. Oh yeah, they're developing their rotation and bullpen.
They're kicking ass and taking names. That's all I'm gonna say. Both sides are coming back to normal in a sense. If you, unless you have some copium, then you take some more copium. But I think this Red Sox and Yankees rivalry is definitely better than what it probably would have been 5 or 6 years ago when the Royals were so good, but the Red Sox were trying too hard after Sandoval won the World Series with the Giants and signed with the not Yankees, the Red Sox. Bad times. That's all I'm saying. Sorry to put that image back in your head, Stennis.
Yeah. Well, I knew Kung Fu Panda was not a pan out for us, so sad point. And you're done?
My dud. So, apparently, this is like another case like the Raiders, but instead of the Raiders making a Kermit the Frog puppet and making it Patrick Mahomes and pissing off Mahomes, instead, it was a Texans defensive end, Tim Settle, which in a earlier interview before the game was even played, he was talking about how the Chiefs offense should watch out because the defense is cooking or whatever. And instead of that actually happening in this scenario, he got somewhat close to Mahomes, but he didn't sack him, but he was kind of like near his feet. And guess what happened to Mahomes for the first touchdown of the game? He decided to run into the end zone for the first touchdown of the game, and pretty much proved that his high ankle sprain ain't shit. Venice, go for it.
I will say that is the one thing that still has me nervous about Mahomes and that high ankle sprain, is just simply for how long is it going to be sustainable without it really causing a lot of pain.
Dude,
But
his first Super Bowl was based off of a knee thing going on.
Yeah.
His second one
but you
was based on a knee thing. His third one, well, not really. Just his wide receiver room and his running back room and everything else sucked ass. But the defense, well, it kept going. Rinse, repeat.
no, I wasn't trying to say that like as if it was a question to be answered. I just was saying that it is just a little concerning.
Right,
It's just a concern.
Right.
Not
I'm not saying
Not
you're
a
wrong.
not a reason for you to throw to debuff the argument.
Right. I was
Like,
just kind
it
of
didn't
putting
call for
I was putting information out there. I'm not meaning to come off as reckless, but anyways.
Yeah. But honorable mention for the stud this week goes none other than to Dicker the Kicker, as Cameron Dicker made a 57-yard fair catch free kick field goal in the 34-27 victory for the Chargers over the Denver Broncos to head into halftime.
I'm not gonna lie.
Here are some notable things about this kick. It is the first time that this kick has been successfully made since Ray Wershing of then the San Diego Chargers connected from 45 yards out in 1976. So this is also not only the first time that one had been made in 46 years, it is also the longest ever of this type of kick made. It's a very obscure rule, and the rarity of it is crazy. But the situation was well called for it after Darius Davis had a fair catch, a kick catch interference, moved it up another 15 yards to put it right into Dicker's range. You were saying?
So okay.
Are you going to say something, or am I clear to move?
Go ahead and move. Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt
All right.
you.
Yeah. Okay, but my actual stud this week goes to none other.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. All I was gonna add to that was that I never really in a while seen like that ruling come through for a free kick, and that's why I thought was weird. Anyways,
It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen very often. Harbaugh knows of it.
That's all I was
that's
gonna
why he
say
was
at the
able to
beginning.
Yeah,
My bad.
that's why I said it is so obscure that you end up with the situation to call for it, and then on top of it, it only goes for so far. But none other than Charlie Woods. Now, if you're asking me about this, who is Charlie Woods? He is the 15-year-old son of the great golfer Tiger Woods. He was competing on a pro-am with his dad, didn't win the thing, but the son aces his first ever par 3 in this event at the PNC Championship. Aced a par 3. So yes, I am going to give the stud to him, especially in such a big tournament for in the pro-am, where the key to get in is you have to have a golfer win a major. Golfer's got to win a major, and it's open to that golfer and a family member of that golfer. And this is in doubles format. And Charlie Woods is setting himself up to be in the footsteps of his father and possibly going pro at some point. But my dud this week goes to none other than the Chicago Bears defense for getting completely bamboozled on the stumble bum trick play from the Detroit Lions and giving up a touchdown on it, further cementing as if the Hail Mary against the Commanders was not enough, that they are clearly not ready for anything. And Ruckus, you can go ahead and take us out.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening to episode number 129 of or 128. 128. Sorry. Thank you for listening to episode 128 of Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast. I am Ruckus, always called a Ruckus.
And I'm Ruckus and The Menace, and my partner has just counted like college football conferences.